I recently got my 66 Fairlane Gasser running, and we're kind of in the getting to know you phase. I'm starting to trust it a little bit more. I don't think it's going to catch on fire every time I look at it, but it's got one really annoying problem still. What a delicious noise. Let's see if we can quiet that down a little bit. Loud, isn't it? I'm Jeremy, welcome back to Catfish Motorsports. Today we're going to see if we can't quiet down the fuel pump I have in the back of my race car here. I don't want to spend too much time on the pump itself, but it is a pretty much brand new Holley Black fuel pump. To be fair, it wouldn't have been my first choice for a fuel pump. I probably would have bought a little more modern pump like an Air Motive or something like that, but this car came with a number of parts. That was one of them, and I'm not one to thumb my nose at free good parts, because I do like Holley, even if their fuel pumps are notoriously a little bit on the loud side. Anyway, long story short, how's a guy supposed to get stressed out about how loud his valve train is when he can't even hear his valve train over the incredible noise of the fuel pump? So we're going to quiet that down so I can go back to being concerned about normal things like, is my cam eating itself? I did a little poking around online, and really the only thing that anybody suggested was that a lot of the noise is actually vibration from the pump against the metal that it's mounted to. So basically what we're going to do here today is try to dampen that noise by removing any direct metal to metal contact. We're going to try to do that with this. This is noise dampening material. I had this left over from another project just laying on a shelf. I don't know if it's the best thing to use for this, but it's what I have, so it's what we're going to use. I also considered using some cork gasket material I had laying around. That might work too. No idea. We're going to try this. Now the mount in this is really something I just kind of made myself. There is a mount that wraps around the fuel pump, and it does have a little bit of rubber in between it, but as far as how it actually connects to the car, that's just a couple pieces of aluminum I slapped together. So we're going to take that all apart, put this in between those metal surfaces, and put it back together and see if it gets quieter. Now, how are we going to know if it gets quieter? Bam, iPhone decibel meter. I used this before in an exhaust video I did, and it worked pretty well. So we're going to take a couple of baseline readings here, see what the decibels are before we do anything, and then just see if we lower it. Now, remember, the decibel meter is on a logarithmic scale. I'm not going to trip over myself trying to explain what that means mathematically, but basically it means it's not 1 for 1. Normal conversation is generally about 60 decibels, whereas like a lawnmower is like 85, 89. You would think a lawnmower would be like 3-4 times louder, but on the decibel scale, it's not. So if we successfully remove 10 or even like 5 decibels, we've actually made a pretty big difference here. So that's kind of our goal. Hopefully we can knock 5 decibels off this thing. Now we're going to take 2 readings here. The first one we're going to take on this step stool, just directly behind the pump itself. And then we're going to take one more reading from inside the car, because trust me, it is still quite loud in there. Looks pretty consistent at about 75 decibels. Moving around to inside the vehicle. And inside the car, it looks like we sit pretty solidly at about 70 plus or minus 2. I hate filming under the car. I know it's hard for you guys to see, and that light coming from the door over here is probably not making it better. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm not actually gonna disconnect any of the fuel lines because I don't want to get fuel everywhere. All I'm gonna do is disconnect the pump from my little homemade bracket here, and then we're gonna coat the bracket in that noise dampening material, and hopefully that quiets it down some. Probably put some of that on the actual car itself too. See if that also helps. Maybe we'll do that separately. We try to have some facet of the scientific method here and see which one actually makes the biggest difference. The only other thing I'm gonna do while I'm in here, because this is just sort of very temporarily wired, I'm gonna drill a hole so I can properly run this wire out with a grommet, and then we'll put like a weather pack connector on it so we can easily disconnect it. Oh, here we go. So here's my little aluminum bracket, just made out of 1/8 inch aluminum that I've got held together with one screw with a lot of Loctite on it. Gonna pop this apart, coat it with this stuff, put some of this on the floor in the trunk too, and hopefully that quiets it down. Okay, we're back up here. The only thing I really did extra was I changed where I had my ground. It used to be down here. I put it up here just to make sure we got good metal contact on the back of this panel here. I'm gonna put an end on this and we'll continue on. Well, I've been off camera for a little while, boys and girls, because when I put this all together and then test fired it, it wouldn't come on. And I thought I had a ground issue because obviously we now have rubber in between some of our metal parts, but just nothing was making sense. And then after messing with it for the better part of an hour, I think I finally determined that it was the ring terminal that I had on the ground wire. So we'll probably replace that, but I've got it twisted now and it seems to be working. So we're throwing a little bit more of this stuff just down in the trunk of the car. I know I said maybe we do like design of experiment, scientific method in one piece at a time and see if we could figure out what made the most difference. But you guys just want to know if this works. Like, you don't need to watch me put one piece on at a time over 15 minutes. Let's just throw it on there and see if we can't make it stop yelling so loud. So there we go, just a patch piece here and there. If you ever used this stuff before, you probably know that you don't quite have to coat your whole floor with it. You certainly can, but you get diminishing returns compared to just putting sections like this, or at least so I've been told. All right, here we go. What were we at? 75 outside before and 70 in the car? Give me 4 decibels. Give me 3 decibels. I'll take any win that I can. Just give me a little bit of a victory here. And no win outside of the car. What about inside the car? Inside of the car, it does look like we got ourselves those 3-4 decibels. I did not particularly want to do this, but in the interest of science, for you guys, to see if we can reduce it a little bit more, because that's what we really care about, inside the car, right? If it's still loud outside, whatever, at least that's what I'm telling myself. But we had a little bit of a victory inside. Let's see if we can increase that victory. I'm going to put a little bit more of that sound deadening material back here, and then I'm going to throw my back seat in, which I didn't want to do because I'm just going to have to take it back out. But it's for science. Well, that was a giant hassle. Hopefully, it was a worthwhile hassle, and that was all of the sound deadener I had left, so we got no more bullets to fire. Let's fire it up one more time, get another reading inside the car. We got it down to 66. Let's see if we can get it down just a touch further. Can we see 63? Well, how about that? Down to 64. Well, hey, that's a victory, a 6 decibel decrease. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but remember what I said back at the beginning, decibel numbers, a small can be a big difference. A 6 decibel decrease is actually like almost a 40% decrease in what your ear can detect. So that's not nothing at all. I'll try to play them kind of side by side and see if it makes a difference. Maybe, I don't know if you can hear it over the video or not, but we'll try that. Down to 64. It's kind of a bummer we didn't make any difference on the outside, but I don't stand outside my car when I'm driving it. So as long as it's quieter inside, hey, that's a win. And if somebody has a better plan, by all means, drop it in the comment, especially if there's an off-the-shelf mount that maybe we can buy that does a good job of masking the sound without you having to do a whole bunch of work like I did here. That would be awesome. But if we do, I don't know about it. Maybe you do. Afterthought really quickly. I know it's not super satisfying to be like, we went through all that and you determined that sound deadening your floor is the best answer. Yeah, I mean, that is really what it is. And while that might not be a revolutionary idea, that's kind of what I'm here for, to try to stop you guys from wasting time and money. And that's sort of what we accomplished here. If your external fuel pump is too loud for your liking and it's driving you crazy, maybe don't try to do a whole lot to the pump. maybe spend a little bit more money on some sound dampening under your car's carpet. And I have since driven that car around since we played with the modifications that we did. Before, even with 500 cubic inches through 3.5-inch exhaust, you could still hear the racket of that external fuel pump. Now it's an afterthought. Now, like, I'm not saying I can't hear it, but it's not first and foremost in my mind the way it was before. I mean, we really did something here between knocking the like 4 decibels off with the sound deadening on the mount itself, and then putting the back seat in, put a little sound deadening on the floor around there. We made a difference. So if you went even further than that and sound deadened your whole floor and had jute padding under all your carpet and stuff like that, it would probably make a huge difference. Other last note, I have seen, especially for like walbro fuel pumps, where people put an entire foam like wraparound pad around it, and it's supposed to help reduce noise. That might work. And I'm not telling you not to do it, but external fuel pumps do not have the greatest reputation for longevity as it is, and heat is the biggest killer of those things. I would be personally reluctant to completely wrap the motor in insulation when it might cause it to heat up and die. I don't think I would try that unless I had another spare that I carried around with me in the trunk ready to swap in on the side of the road. Thank you for watching. As always, please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.